Shalom Aleichem, everybody. I'm speaking to you in this very unusual tkufa. I'd like to share a thought with you, not a thought in the parsha, a thought in the general matziv. There was a psychologist that approached one of his rabbeim with a taina. He told him, I've been looking through the tefillas in the Yomim Neiroim, and I see extraordinary l'shonos of tefillah, brachas one after another, but there's just one bracha that I don't appreciate. You see, my work all day, I spend trying to help people with their fears. I have people who are afraid of different things. People are worried. People are very anxious about all different inyanim, whether it's parnasa, children, shidduchim, shalom bayis, other inyanim. And my job, what I work on all day, is trying to drive away those fears, trying to calm them down. And then I look at the tefillah Yom Neiroim and I see a bracha v'chein teim pachtecha, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, make us afraid. And it seems to be that this is connected everything. It just doesn't seem to belong, and maybe this bracha should be removed. So his Rebbe responded to him, punkt verkehrt, just the opposite. His Rebbe responded, Adarabba, v'chein teim pachtecha, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, make us fear you, make us have yiras shamayim, make us realize that you are the one who runs the world and that everything that happens is from you. And if we have the Pachad Hashem, if we have yiras shamayim, and we realize that everything comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then all the more so we'll be at peace. We'll be at peace with everything that happens in the world. We'll be relaxed because we'll realize that everything is coming from the Bari Olam. And that will be true calmness, true tranquility. Hashem al kol ma'asecha, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should make people be yiras shamayim and realize that everything that happens in this world is for a reason. Everything that happens is from the Bari Olam. And if we realize that, then there's nothing to be afraid of. This week, we had no choice, but we had to close the shul. We had to put up a sign on the door of the shul that says that the shul is closed and nobody's allowed in. We did not close the shul because we're afraid. We did not close the shul because we're fearing for what's going to be. We closed the shul because that was the Ratzon Hashem. We closed the shul because this is what the Bari Olam wanted from us. And since that's what the Bari Olam wanted from us, that's what we did, and we're at ease, we're at comfort with it. We're very comfortable, we're very relaxed. I want to share a thought with you based on the Gemara in Shabbos Daf Yud Gimel, which is actually the Daf from Thursday. The Gemara is talking about Kehillas Niles. The Gemara is talking about different Yom Tovim, different days that were considered Yom Tovim, that they wouldn't fast on those days. And the Gemara says, who's the one that's the author? Tan Rabbanon. Mi kosav Kehillas Niles? Amru, they said, Chananya ben Chizkiya v'siyatei. He wrote it. Why? Shehoyu mechavev es hatzaros. And just to tell you briefly, the Pshat the Achronim explain. There were tzaros that they went through. And eventually when they had a Yeshua, when they were saved from those tzaros, they would celebrate. That would be considered a yontif. It was only a yontif if they appreciated the tzara that led up to that salvation. That they realized that there was something significant with it. And since there was something significant, b'meila, the Yeshua that came later on was something to appreciate. Because they learned a lesson, the message hit home. Okay. Says the Gemara, what's the pshat that we don't have anything more added to that list? We too appreciate tzaros so that we would be worthy to celebrate when we have Yeshua. What should we do? It would just go on and on. The list would never stop. The list would never end. There's so many tzaros and so many Yeshuas. So that's it. Whatever was put there was put there. We don't continue. Then the Gemara goes on to tell us a couple of more pshatim of why we don't have a list of more Yomim Tovim, celebrations for Yeshuas from tzaros. Says the Gemara, Davar acher ein shoyte nifka. A shaita is someone who's not aware, someone who's oblivious, doesn't realize that he's going through something. Ein shayta nifka. We don't appreciate the tsar enough to be able to appreciate the geula that comes afterwards. Okay. Says the Gemara after that, Dover Achar, Ein Besar Hameis Margish Be'izmel. The way the Gemara explains it at the end, Ein Besar Hameis Shebechai Margish Be'izmel, which means that a living person that has on him some dead skin from a wound or from a burn, he doesn't appreciate the pain, meaning he's not able to feel the pain. He doesn't feel a sensation from the pain because he has dead skin. And the Gemara seems to be saying the same thing, that we go through tsaros, but we're numb. We don't realize the significance. We don't realize the importance of what the tsaros are there for. And therefore, we don't learn enough from it. Memela, it's not enough to be able to be right to celebrate when there's Yeshua. And the Nesivos tries to explain what the difference between the two pshatim and the Gemara is. Again, ein shayta nifga, that we're pasha to oblivious, and then ein besar hameis shebechai margish be'izmel, which also sounds like we're too oblivious. And without getting into the whole pshat in the Gemara, you're welcome to look it up in the Nesivos' Sefer, in the Sefer Nachlas Yaakov, to see how he plugs it into the Gemara. But the Nesivos' Masber, it's talking about two different types of tsaros. There's a tsar that's a tsar haguf, a physical pain which unfortunately there are people going through today. And that's something that they went through. Perhaps the Gemara is saying that they didn't appreciate it as much. Like I told you, you can see how the Nesivos fits it into the Gemara. But when the Gemara said, Ein shayta nifga, the Gemara was talking about not a physical pain, but a ruchnistic pain. A tsar that affects the Torah and the Avodah of Klal Yisrael. A tsar that affects people's dedication to doing Torah and mitzvahs properly. Something which halted Torah and mitzvahs. It brought it to a stop. Such a tsar, such a tzara, says the Gemara, is not something we could appreciate. Even when there's Yeshua Pashat, because the tzara itself was so big. How could you appreciate and make a simcha afterwards? It's taka simcha when there's Yeshua. But the very fact that there was such a bittul from Torah and mitzvahs and minyani ruchnius and being close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that itself was a terrible blow, something which they didn't appreciate because they were shaitan. But the pshat over there is, the pshat is that the tzara was something which was a tzara that was a tzara for ruchnius. And again, what the pshat in the Gemara is the pshat. But it's just the point I want to bring out. Ein shayta nifka. And also like the Gemara says, Ein besar hameis shebechai margish be'izmel. There are tsaras going on. There are people that are b'tzar, side physically, inside in ruchnius. We hope that everybody, we wish, we're mispal that all the chaylim should have a refuah shalema, and this terrible magefa shouldn't affect anybody else. And it should come to a swift end. But the point I want to dwell on is the idea of Ein shayta nifka, the way the Nesivos is masbir. We have tsaras that we don't realize the magnitude of the tsaras. We go through a tsara. Some may say, Baruch Hashem, I'm not affected. I hope I'm not affected. My family is Baruch Hashem. We're nice ba'ol with others. We're mispalo. But it's hard to feel the effect of the tsar, the effect of the tsar that it has on our ruchnius. We're shaitan. We're like shaitan. We don't realize. We don't feel it. And ein b'sar hameis shebechai margish be'izmel. We're alive, but the b'sar hameis, we don't feel it. We don't feel that sensation. The neshama of Yisrael, the neshama of Yisrael, the collective neshama of Klal Yisrael is b'tzar. We just don't feel it. We don't feel a sensation. It's a terrible thing. It's a terrible tzara that, unfortunately, we have to leave the shul. Unfortunately, we don't have the opportunity to daven b'tzibur, to daven in our Makom Kodesh that we work so hard to maintain and to be mechabed. But we could take that chizik that we mechazik ourselves up until now and use it to be mechazik ourselves further. Let's be mechazik ourselves. We don't know how long this is going to last. We hope it won't be long. We hope it'll come to a very quick end. But however long it is, let's make sure that we grow and we don't fall down. Let's make sure that our ruchnius should not be affected. Let's make sure we shouldn't be like the Gemara refers to as a shaita, someone who doesn't realize the effect that things are having on him. When it comes to daven, for the most part, we don't daven with minyanim now. We daven b'yechidus. We come to appreciate the tremendous chus that we had to daven with a minyan of Be'ezus Hashem. We tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, we got the message. We realize that we should appreciate being in the Mekoymes HaKadoshim, in the Batei Knesiyos, Batei Midrashos, and Be'ezus Hashem will be back there very soon, B'Karev. But as long as we're not, we should make the most of our tefillah. Let's set aside a time. Set aside a set time every day that you plan on davening. Give yourself 45 minutes, an hour for Shachris. Be by yourself. If you feel like it'll be helpful to daven with a tzibur, meaning with a few other people, to give it more of a kfiyas, to make it more real, do it that way. Whatever will work better. If you'll daven better b'yechidus, daven b'yechidus. Perhaps you'll feel that if you daven b'yechidus, you'll be able to spill yourself out, to cry out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, pour out your emotions to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and daven that this tzar should come to an end. Think about it. Realize the tzar that it is. Realize how terrible it is that we're not able to daven the way we're supposed to daven. That our learning has been interrupted. Our shiurim b'rabim, our sdarim b'rabim have been interrupted. But we're not going to just take it sitting down. We're going to work on it to make sure that we can have our shiurim. However it is, whether it's through live video chat or whatever it's called, other video conferences, teleconferences, we'll do what we could to keep our starim in this busy tkufa leading up to Pesach, which is Zman HaGeula. Be'ezus Hashem, there should be a month that should be taka, the Chodesh Nisan should taka be B'Nisan Nigalu, B'Nisan Asidin Legoyel, Be'ezus Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu should bring the Geula B'Kar of Mamish. Have a good Shabbos.